Hi Aquarius, this is your 2017 forecast with astrologykiki, and we're going to start off talking about Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion, and it will be transiting this year, towards the end of the year in October, from your ninth house to your 10th house. And your ninth house is the planet of travel and thought process and higher education, and could even be court cases. So you may have seen an expansion in long distance travel, communication with foreigners, or dealings with foreigners. You may have decided to go back to school, and this is continuing through 2017. So maybe you will decide to get a degree or graduate. And the focus and expansion will be somewhere in this area. Unfortunately, it's pretty unbiased. It'll expand positive and negative. So if there's a court case, there may have been some kind of expansion there. But overall, there should be more travel involved. Something at a distance, overseas, some kind of communication with foreigners, or education. Now, in October, Jupiter will transit into your 10th house, which is the house of career and recognition, and you should see an uptick with regards to your professional recognition, or you change careers, you get a better career, you change positions, you get a pay raise, and there's a lot more people noticing you within this area. It's a big boon to your career. If you are a stay-at-home mother, there's something you're being recognized within the community. At some point within the year, it's a real boost in that area. Now, Saturn is the planet of restriction and teaching you lessons. And Saturn for you will be transiting from your 11th to 12th house, but it won't do that until the end of the year in December. So Saturn will spend most of the year in your 11th house of gains, acquaintances, networks, organizations. And typically when Saturn is in this area, you may see some restriction or lack of your social network. Maybe people that you've always been friends with, you're kind of pulling back, or they're pulling back, and there's something that it's just not working for you anymore. You no longer have to have like all these zillions of friends out in the world. You're going to stick with one or two that are really important to you and get you and are working with you. And it can be, there's plus and minuses to that. Of course, it can be very difficult for some people to break away from that. But Saturn is there to teach you lessons and to help you move forward. And at the end of the transit, you should really see some benefit from that. You may realize you didn't need all these people. What you really want is just that core group of people that you still want in your life. So that has to do with networking groups, volunteer, charitable organizations. Maybe you just sort of pulled away from some of that. As well as even financial gain. You may see a little bit of a lack of that at this period of time. Saturn has been in your 11th house for a while, so this is nothing new, but it will be transitioning out at the end of 2017 in December, and it will be transitioning into your 12th house. And while it's in your 12th house, you may see things that were previously hidden come to light. You may be a little bit more nostalgic. But I think one of the lessons to be learned when Saturn is in your 12th house, and it stays there for a while, But by the end of that period, the lessons really there will be to drop some of the negative self-talk and negative behaviors and addictions that really don't serve you moving forward. And hopefully you can get rid of those. And that part of that nostalgic part of your past, which no longer is serving you in a beneficial way, and you can get rid of those at that time. Now, your North Node will be transiting as well from your 4th house to your 3rd house in May. And your North Node is really the things you need to do, think, behave, participate in order to feel personal growth and personal success. And so the focus for that really up into May will be in your 4th house. So you would probably see yourself helping out with family members, taking care of parents, engaging in things that are going to benefit your family, being responsible, taking care of them. Or even kind of, 4th house is very introverted, a little bit personal. It's what you hold tight around you. So even though family and home might be a very strong focus here, being responsible, taking care of your home, but even valuing your own personal values and believing in yourself and knowing that what you're doing is you're just being confident about your values and where you stand on things. That's a pretty big focus into May. And then from May on, that focus will shift from more of a personal introverted area into an extroverted area of the 3rd house, and the focus will be on reaching out and making sure you stay in touch with and communicate with siblings, relatives, not necessarily those in your household, but just community members overall. And activities that you'll participate in might be more writing to people and communicating over the wires, traveling to go see them, getting in your car and taking off for a while and enjoying the scenery and transit and reaching out. So you're going to go a little bit from that very personal, introspective area, and then the things that are going to make you feel more productive and personally like you're growing will transition into more of an outward area of reaching out and communicating with others. Now, there are going to be some eclipses. Eclipses may affect you strongly or not so strongly. Depends on your natal chart and how that relates to the degrees of the eclipses. But you can go to my website and find out more about how that should affect you personally. But the eclipse series that we'll be running through will affect your first and 7th houses. And the 1st house is the house of self and image and appearance and goals and dreams. And the 7th house is the house of partnerships. Could be marriage or long-term partnerships, romantic partnerships, as well as business partnerships. So I would expect some changes. If you are feeling the effects of the eclipse, you could see some big changes with regards to your goals and dreams, or the way you present yourself, your appearance. You could see some changes in partnerships, or creation, or a dissolution of a business partnership, or you could get engaged or married or divorced. So these will affect, depending on the eclipse. This is the series that we're going through. So you may see some changes in those areas throughout 2017. Again, those are going to be in February and August. Now, some trine that's taking place is super rare trine. These are very slow moving planets, and this trine takes place hardly ever. And it's going to happen 3 times within a year. One being at the end of 2016 in December, and then 2 in 2017 in the middle of May and the middle of November. And this trine is between, and trine, by the way, is a very positive aspect. The trine will be, it's harmonious, and it will be between Uranus and Saturn, two pretty different planets. Uranus is super unstable and full of surprises, and Saturn is very stable and not full of surprises, very cautious and responsible, but those two are going to be sending good vibes back and forth between each other, and it will be in the areas of your 11th and 3rd houses. So this is the house of 11th is the house of gains and friendships and organizations and charities and volunteer work and acquaintances, and the 3rd house is the house of communication and siblings and neighbors. And it's kind of interesting because those two areas, there's a trine there, and you may see a thread between what goes on at the end of 2016 and what goes on in the middle of May and November. Something that sort of ties them all together, having to do with the same thing. But you have some interesting dynamic here, because your 11th house, which the trine is involved in, is where Saturn will be teaching you a lesson. And the 3rd house, which is where you will have that focus of what makes you feel personally successful, that will be in your 3rd house. So the communication will play into the same trine. So you have some really opposing, you have Saturn trying to take away your north node, trying to make you focus on something to make you feel better. And then there's this trine here between both of those houses. And so what I think is that this is going to be a time where they're fairly harmonious, and where you can make that productive effort things will go a little bit more smoothly with regards to these two areas. Reaching out, whereas you may have had some restriction with Saturn, this communication and this bond between these two areas will be some bright spots, and it'll happen 3 times. And again, this is really rare, so these should be some nice aspects that'll happen in May and November of 2017. Okay, thank you very much.